Welcome to Spirited Investigations, and welcome to the Haunted History of Kentucky. This list of 10 is part of a playlist of gentle listening, spooky collections from across the USA. The screen fades to black so you can enjoy the stories without distractions. Please do consider a like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. First is Kentucky State Penitentiary in Eddyville. The penitentiary, also called the Castle on Cumberland, was built in 1886. It was constructed to house death row inmates and became famous for having the first electric chair, called Old Sparky. The long history of the penitentiary has naturally bred stories about ghosts and hauntings, with one story being about Harold Smith, with the nickname Hanger Smith. He was a former executioner who grew more and more remorseful about the duties he had to perform. He resulted in his suicide, with claims that his spirit still roams the halls. Inmates and guards have also reported encounters with the death row ghost, a malevolent spirit of an executed inmate. Also, the ghost of an unidentified woman near to death row, who's often associated with an aura of despair. At number 2, we would have had Bobby Mackey's Music World in Wilder, Kentucky, but that got knocked down in December of 2024, so instead, here's a similar place, the Talbot Tavern in Bardstown, which is the second oldest town in Kentucky. The Old Talbot Tavern is a small 5-room hotel and tavern built in 1779. It's one of the oldest buildings in Bardstown and full of stories of rugged bar fights. The outlaw Jesse James is reported to have stayed there, who even put a few bullet holes in the wall around an upstairs mural. His ghost is said to remain at the tavern. Other famous visitors include Daniel Boone, Abraham Lincoln, and John Fitch. Visitors are reported being shaken awake by housekeepers who disappear when looked at, of hearing strange sounds and of experiencing furniture moving. Forks and glasses are known to move by themselves in the dining room. The piano will play notes on its own, and the clocks can chime at odd times during the night. Number 3. Staying in Bardstown, which incidentally is the bourbon capital of the world, we have the Wickland Mansion. This 1815-built historic home once housed 3 Kentucky governors, giving it the second name of the House of the Three Governors. The staff have reported various ghostly phenomena like doors opening and hearing phantom old-style music. Although Wickland family members are still reportedly haunting the mansion, their slaves from the 1860s are more commonly heard, plus other spirits may make an appearance, including a former cook, a groundskeeper, and a carpenter. At the 4th spot on our list is Liberty Hall in Frankfort, Kentucky. Liberty Hall was built in 1796 by Senator John Brown. This red brick building looks eerie at first glance, with tall shuttered windows and large trees casting shadows over the 4-acre lot. Once upon a time, the senator and his wife hosted many prominent members of society, including political figures, opera singers, and army generals. Now it's a museum that's haunted by several spirits. The Grey Lady Ghost is said to be the spirit of Margarita Varick, the aunt of John Brown's wife. Margarita Varick died on the property 3 days after arriving in 1817, most likely due to a heart attack. Several generations after her death, the great-granddaughter of the senator began to see an apparition of a lady in a grey gown in her bedroom. This would happen for nights on end. She'd shout for help and her brother would race to the room, but the apparition would be gone, only to appear again the next night. Liberty Hall suffered damage from a fire in 1965. Francis Coleman took photos of the residence the same year, and after developing the film, one of the photos revealed a blurry form that raised the hair on his neck. There in the image was what appeared to be a figure wearing a long grey gown. Another ghost found at Liberty Hall has a mysterious story. In 1805, a Spanish opera singer was one of the guests attending a party at the residence. She was seen walking in the gardens, headed towards the river, and then was never seen again. There have also been reports of a dark-haired woman running through the gardens with a look of terror on her face. She's shrieking, but silent. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Camp Taylor in Louisville, or Louisville if you're not from England. Camp Taylor is an entire neighbourhood where hauntings and ghost sightings happen regularly. It was once farmland that became a World War I military base. The training camp suffered an influenza outbreak within its first year, resulting in dozens of deaths every day. Soldiers had to stack the bodies in piles. After the war, it became a residential neighbourhood where strange ghostly sightings occurred. people report seeing soldiers marching in military formation and hearing the sounds of cannons. You might also catch a glimpse of a Victorian-era woman wandering about at night. Some say she lingers looking for her lover who died of influenza. She had died from influenza days before. At number 6, we have Maple Hill Manor in Springfield. Sitting on 15 acres of land, the Maple Hill Manor is a Greek Revival plantation built from hand-cut wood by slaves in 1851. 4 of the original owner's children died on the premises, with one of the sons falling to his death from the stairwell, who is said to still haunt the manor today. The family cemetery is on the land, which also contains bodies of many soldiers who died during the nearby Battle of Perryville in the Civil War. Footsteps can be heard throughout the house when no one else is near. Some have reported smelling perfume in several of the rooms. Knocks on doors result in nobody being on the other side, and reports of unusual dreams have been made after visitors have left. For number 7, we have the Nada Tunnel on Route 77 in Powell County, Kentucky. The Nada Tunnel is a 900-foot-long one-lane tunnel with limestone walls. It's known for eerie green lights within. The tunnel is normally unlit from any lighting, so the green lights are easily noticed. Cars can only go through one at a time, which must add to some anxiety if you know about the tunnel. Where the green lights come from is thought to perhaps be due to a climber who lost his footing and died at the location. They may also be from the story of a worker dying from an accidental dynamite explosion. It's said that both of their spirits still haunt this stretch of road within the Nada Tunnel. At number 8, Buffalo Trace Distillery, Frankfort, Kentucky. The Buffalo Trace Distillery has been producing bourbon for over 250 years, but is also frequented by ghosts. Staff have reported hearing footsteps and voices when no one is around, seeing lights on that were definitely turned off, and have seen an apparition walking amongst the barrels. One of the oldest paranormal legends at the distillery comes from the early 20th century when workers were doing some updates on Warehouse C. The foreman, who dozed off momentarily while his workers laboured, was awoken by a voice telling him to get his workers out. He couldn't find anyone around, so fell back to sleep. A short time later, the same voice let out a booming yell at him to get everybody out, while he still could. Too frightened now to sleep, the foreman did as this mysterious voice told him to and evacuated his workers from the area. A few minutes later, the wall his men had been working on collapsed. If he hadn't heeded the spirit's warning, it's quite possible a few more ghosts would be haunting the distillery. Warehouse C remains a popular paranormal hotspot today. At number 9 is the famous Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville again, Kentucky. The sanatorium opened in 1909 to treat patients with tuberculosis. Before the cure was discovered, over 8,000 patients died on the grounds. It features a body chute, which is often investigated by paranormal teams. The situation was that so many people were dying, something had to be done to hide the bodies from the living. Deceased patients would be slid down the chute to the coroner's vehicle outside the building. Waverly Hills Sanatorium is one of the most haunted places in Kentucky. The building hosts paranormal tours and overnight stays, where many have reported high EMF levels, food smells coming from the empty kitchen, loud banging, orbs and cold spots. Watch out for reflections at Waverly Hills too from water or mirrors, because people have been known to see others' faces in them. Some of the spirits have also been reported to be unfriendly, even pushing curious explorers. Finally, Casey Cemetery in Elizabethtown. Also known as the Grand View Cemetery or the Gates of Hell, the Casey Cemetery is somewhat difficult to get to. To find the 300-year-old family graveyard means travelling down some dark forest trackways. Unfortunately, being out of the way, or because it's out of the way, many of the graves have been vandalised. Along with the damage are suspicions by many that occult activity and sacrifices may have taken place at that cemetery. Regular normal visitors have reported sudden nosebleeds, their cars not starting, hearing voices and footsteps, and orbs often appear in photos. There's no cell phone service out there, so if anything bad was to happen, there may be problems getting help. Thank you for joining us on this very varied journey. There's more than just the regular bourbon and bluegrass to Kentucky. I hope you'll be here for the next one.